Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Grabner. I'm a researcher at HealthCore. This is my name up here. If you have questions about the poster afterwards, feel free to email me as well. My contact information is down here. We also have handouts of the posters for those who are interested. The objective of the study was to compare two different types of administering insulin. There's the classical multiple daily injections of basal and bolus insulin. And then there is this device called the V-Go, manufactured by a company in New Jersey called Valeritas. It's approved both in the US and in Europe. I think it's just being started to being distributed in Italy, so it'll make its way over here pretty soon. And this is basically a single-use patch with fast-acting insulin that a patient can wear for 24 hours. It gives you a continuous subcutaneous injection of basal insulin with bolus on demand. And so the idea is with that adjustment, it should take some of the burden off of people who otherwise need to do multiple injections to keep their blood glucose at the right level. So we set out to compare in a US population how do patients who received V-Go differ in terms of glycemic control, in terms of their insulin utilization, and their costs from patients who use the standard multiple daily injections. We used the data set that HealthCore has put together of medical and pharmacy claims. So there's claims data. It's very good for picking up utilization and costs. It is lacking some clinical data, which meant for one we had a relatively small sample size with A1C values to compare. Since this was a cohort study, we had no randomization into arms, so we had to use a quasi-randomization technique. You can see here the two different cohorts. For example, we had the V-Go cohort with their first V-Go fill, and before that, for example, if they had two basal fills and two bolus fills, we matched them to patients without the V-Go who also had two bolus fills and two basal fills at baseline. And similar for other cohorts, so that we have a similar pre-V-Go use in both cohorts. We had several different sample sizes. Our main sample size was about 118 patients. This was the subgroup of patients that had enough glycemic control, HbA1c at both baseline and follow-up to compare the change over time. We also had larger samples where we didn't need the HbA1c, where we looked at just utilization and cost. The populations, the V-Go cohort is in this column here, and here you have the multiple injection cohort both before and after a matching process. And about 50% female, about 57 years. Relatively severe patients, 40% or so had a claim for neuropathy at baseline, 20% for nephropathy or retinopathy, and about 2/3 use a basal bolus regime. Compared to a quarter on basal only and about 10% premix. HbA1c wise, the two cohorts were pretty similar at baseline. The mean was about 9.3 for V-Go, 9.0 for MDI, not statistically significantly different. At follow-up, both cohorts improved, but again at a similar level, so no difference in terms of glycemic control across the cohorts. Then we looked at the number of fills. The blue columns here are V-Go, the yellow columns the MDI cohort. You can see at baseline they both started with about roughly 5 fills. And over follow-up in the V-Go cohorts, the number of fills went down, while for the traditional MDI cohort, number of fills went up. So you have a negative difference for V-Go, a positive difference for MDI. In this panel here, you have the larger cohort for comparison purposes, where there's a similar finding. So that's the number one, less use of insulin in the V-Go cohort. You can also see this in the total daily dose. This is estimated from claims, so I have to take it with a grain of salt. But the main observation again is that in the V-Go cohorts, total daily dose in units went down. In the MDI cohort, it stayed roughly constant. And lastly, the diabetes medication costs. Here we are again comparing baseline to follow-up. There was a much lower increase for the V-Go cohort compared to the other cohort, primarily because of the lower number of insulin fills they needed. So it looks like, based on this finding, for some patients, V-Go might be a good alternative, giving you similar glycemic control but less waste of insulin. Thank you.